Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this panel discussion, The Path to Professional Coaching. We appreciate your interest, curiosity, and attendance. My name is Tanya Mancia, and I'm a program developer for UW-Madison's Division of Continuing Studies, which is hosting today's free learning event. At the Division of Continuing Studies, our mission is to advocate for and engage lifelong learners through high quality and innovative programs and services. We're pleased to welcome you to the session today. To help things run smoothly, our Learning Experience Coordinator, Michelle Galerowitz, is here to moderate the program. Our session runs to 12:45 p.m. Please use the Q&A to submit questions. We will address these at the end. We are recording this webinar and will share the link in a follow-up email. Today's webinar is an introduction to our two ICF-accredited coach training programs, the UW Certified Associate Coach and the UW Certified Professional Coach program. Both programs begin this August and registration is now open. There's a QR code on your screen if you want more information, and Michelle is sharing a link to the professional coaching page in the chat. Use promo code COACH10 for an additional 10% off as a thank you for attending today. And now I'm pleased to introduce our facilitator, Samantha Dye.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm Samantha Dye, and I'm really glad that you're here today as we explore what professional coaching is and how UW-Madison can support your journey. I've been coaching for over 20 years, and I've been with UW-Madison in their coach training programs for 8 years. I now serve as the program developer for professional coaching and the ICF Director of Education. And I get really excited about creating accessible, scaffolded learning pathways for people across all industries, just like you, to grow as coaches. Professional coaching means different things to people depending on their experiences and context. So I'd like to start by asking you, what do you think of when you hear the term professional coaching? And go ahead and use the chat function in Zoom, and I'd love to see some of your thoughts. There's a wide range of what's out there. There's a wide range of ideas. And so in the chat, here's some that I'm seeing. Mentorship, being a mediator of thinking, walking with someone, supporting people, someone who asks good questions, working on goals, a guide on the side. It makes sense to me that there's different things in the chat and there's some similarities. I'd like to share that here at UW-Madison, we offer ICF, or the International Coaching Federation. We offer ICF accredited and aligned coach training programs. So they're grounded in the ICF's definition of coaching, which links to several things that you've shared here in the chat, and it clarifies a bit. So the definition is that it's a thought-provoking, collaborative partnership that supports people in discovering their own insights, choices, and direction. So in today's webinar, we're orienting specifically to our ICF accredited programs. We're entering the 14th year of offering our Level 2 program, which we call the UW Certified Professional Coach Program. And this year, we're also introducing a Level 1 program, our UW Certified Associate Coach Program. Both programs are built on the same core curriculum. They share a similar approach, but they have slightly different timelines. So the UW-CAC, our Level 1 program, is a shorter pathway, supporting progress toward the ACC credential with the International Coaching Federation. Our UW-CPC provides a more extended and in-depth experience and can support you to move toward an ACC or PCC credential with the ICF. You can find more detail about each program and the distinction between the two on our website. But today, I'm really excited about the panel that we have here. And we are experiencing some of our own technical things on our side. So we're going to hope to bring in our two additional panelists if we can. And if not, we're here with three great panelists. But let me share with you a little bit about all five in hopes that we can get all five.
And
So
Dan is here, Samantha.
okay, so let's move Dan over to a panelist if we can. That would be awesome. And if Fisnik is also here, we will move him over as a panelist. So as Michelle is sort of trying to do that behind the scenes, I'd love to share about all five for our panel. So today we're going to focus in on their lived experience of going through the program. You hopefully will hear from five alumni who came to coaching from different paths at different times across different industries and life stages and who are using coaching in different ways today. All are professional coaches. All of them are alumni of our UWCPC program within the last 5 years. And because our UWCAC program is built on the same curriculum, practices, and approach, what you hear today is relevant to both pathways. So let me introduce them to you a little bit more. I will go in the order that I see them on my screen. So I'd love to share about Jamie. Welcome, Jamie, to our panel. Jamie Simpson is a clinical instructor in the Department of Medicine at UW Hospital, where she has integrated coaching into the ICU and medical trainee programs. Her research explores team coaching in clinical settings, and her coaching philosophy centers on slowing down the narrative so clinicians can align actions with values. Jamie holds her ACC credential from the ICF. And welcome, Barb. Barb owns her own coaching practice following a 28-year career across finance, legal services, and talent development. She now focuses on building coaching cultures within organizations and is guided by her belief that listening is the first step in helping others. Barb holds her PCC credential from the ICF. Adam, welcome Adam to our panel. Adam is a lead Scrum Master at Exact Sciences and an Agile practitioner who coaches leaders and teams to navigate complexity through mindset shifts and purposeful inquiry. He brings a human-centered coaching philosophy rooted in empathy, curiosity, and the belief that the coachee is the expert. And Adam holds his ACC credential from the ICF. And welcome, Dan. Very happy to see you, Dan. Dan is a partner and attorney at Michael Best and Friedrich, where he integrates coaching into legal practice to mentor and empower the next generation of lawyers. Drawing on his background as a federal and state prosecutor, Dan values coaching as a pathway to self-discovery and purposeful growth. And rounding out our panel of five, welcome to you, Fisnik. Fisnik is the Director of Talent at UW Credit Union, leading talent strategy and leadership development. As a certified professional coach and SHRM CP, he sees coaching as a catalyst for organizational effectiveness and is most energized by helping clients uncover insights they already hold. Thank you to all of you for being here. I'm so glad to see you all on the screen. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and take the slide down, Tanya, as we start our panel of questions. So today, I'm going to ask two different types of questions to our panelists. You'll hear a lightning round type question where each panelist will share a short response. And then we'll have some spotlighted questions where I'll pick a few panelists to go a little deeper with their answer. As you're listening today, I invite you to use the Q&A function here in the Zoom platform. We will give time for Q&A at 12:30 Central Time. So we'll have some questions for the panelists now, and then at 12:30 we'll go to your questions. As you look at the Q&A, if you like a question, if you really want to make sure that we answer it, you can also thumbs up it to vote for that question to be answered. Ready, panelist? I would love to start by asking each of you, first question. During your coach training at UW, what was the most unexpected thing you learned about yourself or how you show up for others? And let's go ahead and we'll start with Jamie.
Thank you. The most unexpected was that I had been listening to people from a how will I respond perspective instead of like actually truly listening. So the course opened my eyes to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. How about for you, Barb?
If I'm unmuted here.
You are.
When I reflected on that question, I just thought of who I was when I started. And as an introvert, I initially held back. Then this group, this cohort mishmash of people from all walks of life, um, areas of expertise, intimidating and yet all there being vulnerable. They all encouraged me at every turn. They brought me in. They kept a hold of me. We generally wanted to be successful. So I think the most unexpected thing I learned was how important intentional inclusion is.
Thank you, Barb. How about for you, Adam?
I think the biggest thing about me is that I am extremely self-critical. And the coaching process through the UW program really helped me look at myself and, practice grace with myself and how I show up.
Mhm. It's lovely. Thank you. Dan, what about for you?
Great to see you, Samantha, and my fellow panelists and coaches. And super excited to be here, especially for all the prospective coaches that are trying to figure out what this is all about and deciding whether or not they want to embark on the same journey that we had the great fortune of doing. For me, being a professional for 3+ decades and always trying to control everything, the concept of being able to let go of some things and to give myself some grace was a completely unexpected gift of what this program is and can be for all of you. So that's really my biggest takeaway in terms of being changed by the program. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And Fiznik.
Hello, everyone. One thing that I learned about myself in this program is just my natural instinct to moving into problem solving or that need to protect others instead of staying curious a little bit longer. So the coaching program really helped me to slow down, listen more deeply, and realize that sometimes the most impactful way to support someone is not by just giving them the answers, but by creating that space for them to identify them on their own.
Thank you, Fiznik. I'm going to ask you another question in just a moment. I'm going to ask you and Jamie, because I'm curious, you both were in different cohort years, so different groups of learners. So Fiznik, we'll start with you. How did that cohort model and your relationship with the peers and instructors impact your growth and confidence as a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most impactful parts of the program for me was really the cohort environment. I'll admit that going into this program, I was a bit skeptical about it being fully virtual and whether it would be possible to build those genuine relationships and connection in that format. But I was wrong. I think that the instructors, you, Samantha, everyone else affiliated with the program did such a great job in really building connection and community within each session. And some of the strongest, professional relationships and most meaningful conversations that I've had even in my career really came out of this experience. And part of the reason why I was skeptical is because coaching could feel vulnerable at first as you're practicing in real time and receiving feedback from your fellow coaches. And also just learning to become more aware of how you show up for others. So it was a really great experience to be in that environment and just create the level of trust and belonging that we did, which also helped me build my confidence as a coach as well.
What was your cohort name? Do you remember?
The Luminaries. It was recent. We just graduated last year.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Fun. I was from the I cohort, so we were the Illuminators, so we were pretty close to you.
Oh,
I appreciated reflecting on this question. I was brand new to coaching, and I would say half of our cohort had been coaching for a while. So I really felt vulnerable and kind of shy in that I didn't know how to coach. But it was that first day when we kind of gathered and talked about what name we're going to go with. It created an alliance, and no matter what our experience level was, we all felt kind of like this shared mission to this thing that we were all committing to, and that even the playing field, so that we were united in learning how to be illuminators. So thank you.
Yeah. I love that some of the UW flavor is showing up. So we let our cohorts name themselves alphabetically. We just are now in our cohort M year with the empowered coaches. So and thank you, FISNIC, for naming the virtual environment. So we took our program completely virtual when we were in the year of the H cohort. So FISNIC, you're more recent, Jamie, a little bit longer. And so thanks to both of you for naming what impacted you through the cohort model. So, because of the design of our program, we ask and expect that people will commit about 10 to 15 hours per week to the program work. And so I'm curious, I'm going to pick on just a few of you to sort of share how you realistically integrated that commitment into your professional and personal life, because it's quite a lot. So, Barb, how did you do that?
Um, so from day one, my mindset was just, okay, I've got work. I really want to do this. I had the support of my employer to take the time to do this. So I just use the analogy that I use in most of my work, and that's how do you eat an elephant? It's like one bite at a time. So it just a rhythm started to develop, and the longer, like Jamie talked about, and the cohort and that alignment, you just couldn't wait to see there and show up for the people in your cohort. So it was really something I looked forward to every day. Every time we had a project, it was, yeah, it became just part of my routine. It was a rhythm.
Yeah. Thanks, Barb. I'm curious, Adam, how was the time commitment for you?
Like Barb, I had the support of my employer at the time. However, I think I was in kind of a unique situation in that we were being acquired and a lot of things stopped. So I kind of had this space to take on what I needed to take on in order to fulfill the course. And so I can't say that everyone's going to be in that position, but thankfully for me, it worked out that through the acquisition, I had a lot of space to be able to dedicate to the coaching program.
Yeah, that's great timing. So I hope you hear, I mean, people come at this program from different places with different things happening in their lives, and it is a commitment to be in the program. Thank you, Barb and Adam, for speaking to that and how to eat an elephant. Thank you, Barb. Um, Dan, I'm curious, you entered coaching from a very established career and you integrated it into your current role. And so, how did your professional identity shift as you move sort of from what you even named earlier, sort of being the fixer to becoming a coach? What was that like for you?
Yeah, thanks, Samantha, for that question. And I just want to piggyback 1 second off of what Adam and Barb said for the folks that professionally are working significant time when you think about can you do this program? Just bear in mind, it's a building program for the semester. It is not a case. I haven't gone back to school in 3+ decades. You can't cram for this. You have to set aside the time, and as Barbara and Adam said, you got to get the folks that depend on you to know that you're committed to doing this, to give you the time and space to do it. You can chart out the whole year, you can chart out the whole semester, and it's just really important that you focus on it that way when you think about jumping into the journey. On the second point of how it changed me is that, what it really does as a professional that's supervising and trying to cultivate people, it really gives you the skills to empower them themselves. And it comes kind of as a relief that you don't have to solve everything for everybody as they embark upon what their professional development is going to be. It gives you the skills to turn things around professionally instead of just always solving problems as being the person in charge to how do you want to solve your own problems? How do you want to empower yourself? How do you want to move forward in your career with your opportunities to make yourself a better professional, a better person, just all of those things. So that's really, my whole life has been a fixer and cleaning up other people's problems. And so getting the skills to help people work on their problems themselves is just a tremendously powerful thing in that coaching relationship, both for you as a coach and for you and for your client. So that's what really got me jazzed about it as I got into it.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I love that word jazzed. Nick and Adam, I want to tap into you for a moment because you were at different stages in your career than Dan. You both also are in well-known spaces in the Madison area. And so I'm just curious, how has coaching sort of changed your seat at the table or your ability to influence others? And I'll go to you first, Adam, if you're willing to start us off.
Sure, I can kick us off. I really don't like the term influence others. It just it feels like kind of negative and icky to me, but I think that there's value when you're thinking about it from leading up. And I think what the coaching program really gave me was the ability to see other people's perspectives. Give me that space to kind of look outside of myself and what someone else might be seeing or experiencing in that moment and how I can connect with them and then transition that into that influence portion, right? Like, where do we want to go? What do we need to do in order to accomplish this? And again, from that kind of looking up perspective, I'm not necessarily a leader or like executive, right? And so, like, how do you have that influence with someone who is above you when you don't have that authority? And a lot of that comes through the connections and that understanding you can build with that person.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam, for the reframe. A really great coaching skill. Thanks for providing it here. And Fiznik, what about for you?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I want to acknowledge first is that at the UW Credit Union, we have a coaching culture. It's really embedded in our leadership competencies. We expect our managers, while they may not be certified coaches, to demonstrate skills adjacent to coaching in terms of how they're working with their people as it's an effective form in terms of really building relationships and really helping folks uncover kind of their needs and how they want to move forward. For me, it's really changed how I show up in leadership spaces and how I kind of use that influence. And kind of going back to what I shared earlier about problem solving, my kind of innate response to it in the past was having the right answers and being the most prepared or driving towards those solutions quickly. And coaching helped me realize that it's really more about being connected through curiosity, building that trust, and perhaps helping others think differently and supporting, getting to a solution versus being the first to recommend or present a solution. Um, so I ask more thoughtful questions, I listen more deeply, and really just focus more on understanding perspectives before really going into that problem solving mode. And ironically, I think slowing down in a way has actually increased my credibility and influence because people just feel more heard, respected, and included in some of those decision-making processes.
Thanks, Fiznik. Okay, I'm going to throw a question out to all of you. but I'm going to ask you to bottom line it. So in 10 words or less, okay? What's one small but meaningful way that coaching has changed how you live or work today? Jamie, want to start us off?
uh,
You can take a moment.
um, that everyone is capable, competent, and resourceful.
Mm,
I didn't have that view earlier.
Thanks, Jamie. Barb.
Coaching taught me how rare and meaningful um, it is for people to feel truly heard.
Mm, yeah. Adam.
There's something we talk about regarding coaching presence, and I think the biggest thing that shows up for me is just giving space.
Mm, lovely. Dan.
Certainly being a better listener and being more curious and trying to actually not just hear what you want to hear and the minimum of what you need to hear, but really, really in depthly having a connection with somebody.
Visnik.
Gosh, it's hard for me to bottom bottom line
This
this.
coaching skill here.
Yeah, it really is. I would say really leaning into curiosity, um, unconditional positive regard, which is something that has stuck with me, and a sneak peek into the curriculum, and having comfort in creating silence within the coaching space.
Yeah. I love how each of you actually picked up on a key piece of curriculum, and so thrilled to hear your bottom lines there. I have a few more questions for you. We're going to take a few more minutes before we go to the Q&A. So Jamie, I'm going to come to you now and ask I remember journeying with you through this program and sort of seeing that there was some unexpected meaning that you found in the coach training
Yeah.
process along the way.
Yeah.
And you're using coaching in different ways now. So how did coaching or becoming a coach sort of redefine professional fulfillment for you?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It was a great reflection. I came to coaching because my medical trainees were recovering from the pandemic, and I thought, wow, what a great individualized service I could provide to help regain those goals that they used to have. And so I had this idea, and then what I left with was a career purpose. And as I was meeting with my medical trainees and hearing their insights and seeing their growth, I saw so much value, and I started presenting on a national scale, how coaching in medicine for trainees was so impactful and that anybody could do it once you get the training. And then also the team coaching really kind of blew up in the ICU. Like, how can we be better communicators in these critical spaces so that we can better serve the patients? And that was a whole new meaning for my life as a purpose and mission. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I named earlier when I introduced each of our panelists that some of them have a credential with the International Coaching Federation. That is something that you can pursue once you complete our program, and it's your decision whether or not to pursue it. But I'd love to ask you, Barb. I know that you have gotten your PCC credential, so your Professional Certified Coach credential from the ICF, and I'm curious how having this credential has influenced how others engage with you as a coach, if at all.
Yeah, the PCC was just my own personal goal. And I just put that out there because really just the training itself is the best way to start. Just focus on that. And then from there you decide. But for me, it was personal. It changed that level, that many hours, that amount of training. It just naturally changed how I show up for people every day. I've just kind of been reinvented. And like Jamie said, I found my professional purpose. And it's just kind of bleeds into everything I do, friends, family, work. So when I have a conversation with somebody and they have that aha moment, or maybe they tear up a little and they're a complete stranger and they don't know why they're telling me all the things they're telling me, and they tell me that, I was just the person they needed and we don't even know each other. Um, the credential speaks for itself, but it doesn't matter. So it was just a personal thing, but I feel like it helped living the methods of coaching has really made me feel like I can help other people without having the answers.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Barb. I think for many that I asked that question too, it's a continuation, as you said, of becoming a coach. It's the carried on learning and development. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to ask each of you now as we sort of end this portion of the panel, and then we're going to go to the Q&A, and I'm going to give you those questions too. Why did you choose to get coach training from UW-Madison? Anybody want to start us off? I'll let you decide.
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead, Jamie.
I get
And then
that
Dan.
question, yeah, a lot because there are so many programs. It was a no-brainer when I saw the amount of coach practice and the emphasis on actual coaching, and all of the triads that you'll do, and you'll have mentors in your triads, and then the hours that you'll need to spend with an assigned mentor. And then that you're going to coach day one. And I've never coached before. And yet everyone was encouraging, you have to try, or else you'll not know what you need to know in order for the content to stick. So for me, it was the emphasis on actual coaching, that the milestones and the mindsets are embedded in the curriculum, and that your mentors are really keeping an eye on your skills and your skill development. And I just felt really safe trying something new in this course.
So glad. Thanks, Jamie. Dan, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, so look, once a Badger, always a Badger. But to the folks across the country, what's really cool about the program is there were 28 folks in my cohort. They were from across the country. So if you're doing your research, kudos to Samantha and the group at the University of Wisconsin. Their reputation is national. It's a national program, although a lot of us here are in Wisconsin. You can't go wrong in looking at this resource if you're comparing it to others. So it was a no-brainer for me, given both the reputation of the university itself and, of course, Samantha and the program.
Thanks, Dan.
I
Bisnick.
can go next
Yeah.
and build somewhat off of Dan. I am also a proud Badger alum, and I was drawn to the program not only because of its strong reputation, but also because of the meaningful growth I had seen other leaders within my organization gain from the program, and other leaders within the greater community that I live in. And just seeing the experience and the really the richness it brought to their own skill development and professional growth.
Thanks, Bisnick. How about for you, Barb? Why UW-Madison?
I feel like, well, I wasn't a Badger, but now I feel like I am. So I checked
You
that
are.
box too. So, but I feel like it chose me. I mean, it's the reputation of UW-Madison, and Charity, who at the time was part of the group of instructors. Just really, when I talked to her, she was so encouraging. I just had a lot of, I don't know if I can do this, and I don't want to not do it. Like I don't want to fail halfway through. But even in the process of getting ready to start the program, I just had so much support and I don't know if other programs do that, but at least I can say it's guaranteed for anybody considering it. I'm a girl with a lot of regrets in life. Like the rest of us, we've always made choices that we wonder about, but I actually feel like I have an awesome choice on the positive side for once in my life. So I really it was just the best experience.
Thanks, Barb. And Adam, what would you add?
I was kind of at like a career crisis moment, and I called Darcy Luoma, who is a local coach and author, and she told me about the program, and she's like, "You should do it." And I was like, "You convinced me. I'm doing it." So that was it. It took one phone call, but I respected her opinion, and she spoke really highly of it, and I am really glad that I did it.
That's great. So Adam, I'm going to give you the first question out of our Q&A, if you don't
Yep.
mind. Um, what made you decide to pursue coaching? You just sort of went there a little bit. And
Yep.
how has it benefited your career?
I started before actually that call to Darcy, but I had never been treated like a person at work before, but always as an employee. And it's really different when you talk to someone who is seeing you as an entire individual, a whole person inside and outside of work. And I wanted to be able to bring that to my organization. I wanted to look at someone who, we have a lot of our life that is spent not in a seat at a desk. And bringing that in as something that I can help them talk about and work through and think, it just brings an extra component to who you are as an individual and what service you can provide that person. So I think it's been just instrumental in my growth as an individual and what I bring to an organization. I've moved around a fair bit, and every time that I come into an interview talking about coaching, I think is just that extra step up.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. Part of our program both programs require coaching experience hours. And so there's a question here of where did your practice clients come from? Jamie, I see your head nodding, so I'm going to give this one to you.
Yeah, that was terrifying. First day, it's like, oh my gosh, how many hours and where am I gonna? So, I leaned on my job. So my medical trainees, I just sent out a mass email and just said, "Who wants free coaching? I've never done it before. Don't have grand expectations, but I guarantee I will be listening."
Mm,
So I just sent a mass email to people at work, but it was
that's great.
scary. It was scary. I agree.
Yeah. Scary. And for that reason, we balance having individuals coach others within the program to practice coaching and coach those outside of the program. So thank you, Jamie. There's a few in the chat or in the Q&A that I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to come back to you panelists. So there's a question around what program would be the right one if I want to learn how to apply coaching to develop leaders and the organization I work for. And I would say either of our accredited programs. It's really going to depend on how much time you want to commit to that. So either our UW CAC or CPC program will support you to develop coaching skills, which will then support you to apply some of that coaching to developing leaders in your organization. And I think another benefit of our cohort model is that you get to learn from others who are in different organizations and how they are using coaching to do that in their space. I have a question here that says, I perceived that coaching skills would be an insight to how to influence others, but many of the answers provided by the panelists reflect on the way that coaching skills influence themselves. I'm curious if one or the other perspective is the intention behind the program. So I think what's being heard here is sort of the balance of influencing yourself and others. Is there panelists that would like to take that question of sort of the balance as you experienced it?
I'll give it a shot.
Thanks, Barb.
And I kind of lean into what Adam said about the word influence. It can be perceived as positive or negative. And so I'm going to put myself in a coaching session with somebody that comes to me about something that's very technical. And, I guess I just want to understand what they know. And so just getting them to tell me what they know about this situation is, and as you're having that, as they're telling you, it's like they're influencing themselves, like that. It's not me. I was in finance for 28 years. I knew the ins and outs of everything. But when a team member came to me with an issue, I just put a hard stop to, I'm not going to tell you the answer without feeling like I've just shut down. But I felt like the influence comes from the fact that they have a good sounding board. Um, and that as they tell me, it's like going back to them because they're starting to process a little bit different. So that's my shot at that. I don't know if that answers the question.
I think it's a great shot and a great answer. Yeah. So, I mean, the space we provide in coaching is what actually supports that individual to be influenced, and they're influenced by themselves and working through their process in the coaching space. Thank you, Barb, for naming that.
Uh,
So we're
I,
almost yeah. Well,
I
I'm
just
gonna
was gonna go
go
ahead. I was
ahead,
just gonna
Jamie.
say there's a lot that I needed to learn about myself before I could be a good coach and listen from a place of unconditional positive regard. So I just wanted to say that.
That's a great
Yeah.
point, Jamie.
Can I also, I'm sorry, just add one more quick thing? I do
Yes.
think coaching, especially for those in like an organizational environment, does require a bit of rewiring of your brain. And I'm constantly flipping kind of a switch of, okay, people are looking for solutions, or people are looking for kind of guidance or empowerment to those solutions. And that took a lot of time to really build that capability for me, because we're recognized and rewarded typically to present solutions to people, and that's how we create some of that influence. So I do think that getting into that coaching mindset, which is again another piece of the curriculum, is a really critical component of being a successful coach.
Yeah. Thank you for adding that, Visnik. So we focus a lot in our accredited programs on the doing and the being of the coach. It's both. So as we end today, I just want to say thank you all to all of you panelists for joining us. Thank you for those of you in the audience who joined us. I'd love to share with you that in our follow-up communication, we're going to share some information about a free course that we're going to offer in the next few weeks called Your Path to Becoming a Professional Coach. So if you still have questions, if you're wondering how coaching might fit personally or professionally for you, watch our communication for that. Registration will open in the coming weeks. It's designed to support you to explore our learning pathways and to make a choice. And of course, if you feel like coaching is the right fit for you and you want to join our ICF accredited programs, they open in August. And I'm going to pass back to Tanya to close us out for today. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Samantha, and a huge thank you to our alumni for sharing your journeys. As we close, I want to give a final reminder to scan the QR code on your screen to explore the programs we've talked about. And don't forget, our early bird pricing ends on June 15th, and you can use the promo code COACH10 for an attendee discount. Thank you, everyone, for your commitment to lifelong learning. And on behalf of UW-Madison, have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.